Okay. So yeah, so good morning. So for our lesson, we'll be talking about the development of man. So for previous lectures, all we talk about are like natural resources, physical features of the earth. So everything natural, everything environment. Now this time, the lecture is all about the development of man. Since we are in a Christian school, majority of the lecture do not actually support the claim of the archaeologist and paleontologist about the beginning of man, because in science they support that man developed from a hominid or a two-legged primate. So what we're about to discuss now is purely scientific. So if you have your own, own ideologies, own principle na no, I am not from that origin. I respect that. I understand that. Pero let us still discuss it kasi you don't want to live in a world wherein only your ideology matters. It is better to be really educated in all aspect, whether you believe it or not. It's always nice to know that there are principles like this. Okay, so in the beginning of man, um, can you give me or share me your thoughts about beginning of man? I actually show you some images in here. These are actually from the TV show, not TV show rather, a documentary, Mankind. So I actually have CD of Mankind in here. I'm actually trying to look at it in Netflix. It's not on Netflix, pero if you can find like a website to watch it, it's really best. Kasi before in face-to-face classes, I tend to have like 1 hour just viewing of this documentary. Such a beautiful documentary. Pero since we are not face to face, tas you have unlimited internet, try to watch Mankind. Anyway, in that documentary, they're actually able to show everything about history from the beginning of man to World War II. Now, in this image, can someone in here give your thoughts about beginning of man? How does it look like? What are your imagination? Even just two students. Two students. You can raise your hand or just turn on your mic. Just recite. It's scary if I'm the one who will call. So it's better you recite on your own. What are your thoughts in the beginning of man? Your thoughts in the beginning of man. Bah, really quiet. None. You don't have comment. You don't have imagination. You don't even watch by Flintstones or whatever cartoons you have now about old age, old stone age. Wala, no comment. So in this image right here, anyone who knows where to find these big heads, who actually know this appearance right here. Wala, you don't know this one? It's in Polynesia, right? The people in that area actually live in a massive island, and since they're like the people somehow only in there, so they use their entire time no entire time creating heads of their ancestor. That's why if you're actually gonna visit Polynesian island, that Polynesian island, you're actually gonna see a lot of heads, like super big heads, because they sculpt them. So anyway, the beginning of man revolves around people focusing more on survival. Okay, so as you see, baka some of you are like very playful pa and then making fun of, they only have brief, or they only have like a small cloth covering their body parts. So don't be that childish, or don't be that somehow narrow-minded. It's because passion to them is not an aspect. Like it's not even a thing. All they need to have is like a small piece of cloth to cover their body parts, and that's it. The other things doesn't matter. The only thing that matter is to live, to eat, and do something productive, and that's their life. So it's like, imagine it like pandemic, in the very first portion of the earth, like a very first version of the earth. So yan, so that's how the mankind begin, no. It's hard to discuss nang wala nagsasalita, like why no one's reciting. It's like as if I just recorded. The reason why I have live Zoom, to have like students butt in, to have like students share thoughts. But if it will be like this, I think it's better nga that I just record it. Hay buhay. Okay, anyway, there are like 5 chapter, or like 5 levels of the beginning of man according to science. Archaeologists, scientists, and everyone who are fascinated with how the earth was actually formed believe that the first portion is everything in the world somehow started as a one-celled organism. So I like that. So scientists believe that after the Big Bang, the Earth was formed, and then like millions and millions of years pass. This one-celled organism developed to be in the second chapter, like a more advanced creature, not as like that fish looking, but rather more of like sponges, jellyfish, like that. So that one-celled organism a while ago develop into something complex. And then the third became, they developed to be amphibians, so in different form. So others like are very small in the water, others learn to grow feet, and they're actually able to navigate in the land. And since land is bountiful during that time, and during that time there are no factories and no other creatures, so only the freshness of the earth's air, so the oxygen is bountiful. That's why creatures somehow develop. Creatures grew larger. Kasi one thing with the idea in science, if you consume so much oxygen, like fresh, real oxygen, your growth would actually be enormous. That's why majority of the creature during prehistoric time are really, really tall, really, really massive, like the dinosaurs and all those creatures. They are so big and so massive because there's a bountiful supply of oxygen. Okay. So we have a question like, is it true that humans first appeared in Africa? Yes, indeed. Later we will somehow discuss that about the beginning of man. That every human being's ancestor is actually an African tribe. So later we'll show that. Nice for asking question. That's Ryan. So recitation for Ryan. Okay. Next, of course, after the reptiles develop, a much more complex animals also develop. So from reptiles, they develop to birds and mammals and like that. Now, for you, maybe it's so hard to believe that the transition, imagine from a one-celled organism to a much more complex like bird and mammal. In science, they're actually able to explain that. But then again, I'm not a science major. What I can just give you is like a summary of the evolution. So, but if you are really emotionally invested in this lecture, better yet, as your science teacher, what I can provide to you is that synchronous order of their development. So, next image in here, can someone tell me what prehistoric creature is this? What prehistoric creature is that? Don't answer tiger, ha? Oy, two students raised their hand. However, I do not know who goes first, pero let's have Galbe. Nisa, do you know what is this?
Is it saber-tooth?
Yon, a saber-tooth cat. So this from the family of cat or tiger family. One thing with this creature, it is somehow very known in prehistory as a great predator. But of course, it's not the only predator. All of them are like really somehow eating up each other. It's just that this one is very famous because of its teeth, or like there. That's why it's called saber tooth. Saber means knife, so a knife like teeth. Now, the relatives of this creature are like the common tiger, lion, and even our domesticated cats and the cats at home. Their ancestor is this creature. That's why, I am a cat lover ever since, like when I was a child. And I'm afraid of dogs. Pero now I learned to love dogs. So, both na, cat lover and dog lover. But deep down in my heart, I'm really super much attached with cats. Why? Because I find them very mysterious. They are always self-sufficient. Like for example, you go to Boracay, you have a cat. You cannot bring the cat to Boracay, so you leave your cat at home and then go to Boracay. When you come back, it's still a cat. It's still alive, di ba? Unlike with dogs, you need someone to take care of them because they are not self-sufficient like cats. Cats, they can go somehow in other neighbors' houses and steal food for themselves and survive. And then let's say there's no food source, they're actually, I saw my cat one time eating grass. So the cat is eating grass in the in the garden, and I was like, wow, what a survivor. So those are like the characteristic of a feline, or even the cat family is called feline. So the feline that they are very they are very self-sufficient, right? Hunters. Now let's talk about humans. So as asked by Ryan a while ago about the beginning of man, the specific place that the anthropologists believe we originated from is in Africa, all because the oldest bone fragments that actually discovered was actually in Ethiopia by this group of anthropologists, Don Johnson, Tom Gray, and Tim White. They found as a really prehistoric skeleton, and they believe that that is like the very first kind of homonid. When you say homonid, those are like two-legged primate. They're actually able to walk in their 2 feet, because some primates now also, if you're the ones that did not evolve, if you're gonna take a look at the chimpanzee, the orangutan, they can stand, but they cannot walk on their 2 feet. So when they walk, they use all their extremities, their hands and their feet. So here's like an image of human lineage according to anthropologists. So the ones that were excavated by the group of Tim White and company, they call her Lucy. Her lineage is from the Australopithecine afarensis, or Australopithecus afarensis. So this it looks like that. So really ape looking, and even the skin and the hair around it are really ape looking. The only difference is that it can walk upright. So it's a homonid. It's not a chimpanzee, it's not an orangutan. It is a different species of its own, all because it can walk on its own. Now in a documentary I've seen, according to that BBC documentary, these creatures are actually able to walk upright because they train themselves to walk upright, not with with cane or anything. They were actually able to walk upright because majority of the place that they stay in is flooded. So there's water up until the chest. So basically, the creatures that formerly walk in four legged, or using their extremities can no longer crawl because they will drown because the water is up until chest height. So basically, they learn to upright and then somehow navigate in the water. And since then, parang their body developed to walk upright with the assistance of that flooded water. So according to the anthropologists and paleontologists research, that's how the Australopithecine somehow able to walk upright. And with the assistance of flood. Tapos along the way, they just can stand on their own. And then also the three famous species of hominid are actually the habilis, erectus, and sapiens. The Homo habilis is from the term habilis means skill. Okay. And then erectus means upright or walk upright. And then sapiens means to think or the one who thinks. So basically, Homo habilis are like person or a man that are known into skill. So they have like a variety of skill for survival. And then erectus are like their body is really upright and they are taller than the rest. Okay. And then there's also Neanderthal in between the Erectus and the Sapiens. Later we'll discuss the Neanderthal. And the Sapiens, this is like some paleontologists believe that this is where we are already in because we are already a thinking species. We are not just living for eating or surviving. We are actually living with art, with entertainment, with talent, with spirituality. So much much deeper than what this previous hominids live for. Okay, so this is the skeleton of Lucy that they actually found. So they named it Lucy to give identity to it. Na it's not just a creature in the past, but rather it is an individual. So this Lucy right here, a lot of people are actually debating about it if it is a real prehistoric evidence of a skeleton. But with much research done with it, they're actually able to carbon dating the texture of the bone, and they are actually able to prove that it is really a very old set of bones. So since it has pelvic bone in there, they're actually able to know its gender. One thing with if you're somehow enticed with learning about bones and prehistoric things, anthropologists can actually determine the gender of an individual by just the jawline. So ito, the jawline in here, and also the pelvic bone and some parts in here. They can determine the gender already. So yun, so this is a female Australopithecine. Okay. So Homo habilis, just to to specifically discuss them each, they actually developed during the first quarter of the Paleolithic period. When you say Paleo, it means old Stone Age. Okay, Stone Age. So this was like 2.5 to 1.5 years ago. They're more physically and mentally advanced compared to other in terms of survival. So their body is really built for running, escaping, surviving. Meanwhile, the Homo erectus, their remains were actually first found in Africa. Majority of the prehistoric bones were actually found in Africa. That's why the claim of life begins in Africa is really, really strong because there are so many evidences that shows there. So the Homo erectus are food gatherers. They travel from place to place. They're nomad. When you say nomad, no permanent address. So they transfer to place to suffice their needs. And also, one thing with the Homo erectus different than the habilis, the erectus can create fire. So by creating fire, an individual can cook its food. One thing, ito guys if an information to all of you, if your food is cooked, your body can absorb the nutrients better, and you will be smarter, and you will be more active, and your life will be like somehow much more productive if your food are cooked. That's why the development, or somehow the not invention kasi fire is already there, the ability to create, yun na lang, the ability to create fire give a massive difference between the habilis and erectus. Them cooking their food is really such a good improvement with their body and their mind. Plus, they tend to eat meat more because they cook it. Unlike the habilis, they tend to eat fruits and vegetables only, or plants in there, because those are in not in need of cooking. But when the erectus was actually able to create fire, they hunt more meat. And eating more meat make their bodies muscular and their brain smarter. So since they are smarter, they're actually even able to create clothing out of animal skin. So when they kill a let's say a deer or whatever it is that they kill, they get the meat, they eat the meat, but they also get its skin to be their clothing, but not for fashion purposes, but rather by protection purposes. They also develop speech, not as complex as ours, but simple sounds to somehow express their feeling is there. And the Homo sapiens, under Homo sapiens are Neanderthals and the Cro-Magnon. So these Homo sapiens are a more human-like looking. They do not have massive hair in their body. Their jawline are much more prominent. Their nose are much more prominent. All because um, if the group of habilis and erectus are in Africa, the sapiens actually spread all over the world. And the Neanderthals and the Cro-Magnons are the ones that actually move up in Europe. So since they are in Europe, the place is much colder. Their body developed differently than the ones in Africa. So we only have last 10 minutes. So once it's last 5 minutes, I will stop this and then send another link to our Viber. Okay. So anyway, the Neanderthals, they are called the Neanderthals because the remains of these hominids were actually found in the Neander Valley in Germany. So when they actually look at the skeletons of the Neanderthals, very prominent, like it really looks like a modern human already. They originated in Africa and began spreading in Europe and Asia. Their brains are slightly larger of the human counterpart. They are nomadic, so no permanent address. Also, they crafted tools, knives, and spear out of bones, and they are actually advanced culturally. And they also have belief in afterlife, life after death. So basically, when you say advance in culture, they have religion, they have a social structure. Like for example, they have a leader and others are followers. So that, and also religion in a sense because they pray to higher being. Usually they pray to sun, they pray to the trees, they pray to water or air. So anything that they could actually associated with massive power, yun they pray to those. And there are actually some evidences wherein they excavated a body full of many materials around it, many artifacts like spear, and then some fragments of clothing, some fragments of like memorabilia, something like that. All because the Neanderthals believed that what that person possessed here in life should be given to him in his death, so that that person can carry it in the next life. So with that principle of thinking, 'di ba, you might somehow really say that these people can absorb things, can they can really comprehend things. So yan. Um, yan some images of the of the Neanderthals. Yan. So as you see the skin of their hunted prey, yan, they use it as their clothing, all because it's cold in Europe. So they need covering. Unlike in Africa, really small piece of cloth just to cover the body parts. But this one, it's a must to have a very thick, garment. Next are the Cro-Magnon. So in image, I'll show you yan. Yan, that's what a Cro-Magnon look like. So almost human-like na. So modern humans to inhabit Europe, they are named after the Cro-Magnon rock in France. So their remains were found naman in France, in the Cro-Magnon rock in there. They have a high forehead, small brow ridge, well-defined chin, and they are hunter and gatherers as well. They use also variety of tools to hunt, and yan, they live in caves and other complex homes. They actually showed creativity because when the archaeologists searched the cave where the Cro-Magnon stayed, they saw some painting, like prehistoric painting. It's not like modern human draw it and then it's branded as prehistoric. It's not. It's really old. Based on the carbon dating of that drawings, it's really during the time of the Cro-Magnon. So basically, the Cro-Magnon do not just show developed features but also intellect and creativity. They know how to paint, they know how to draw, to express themselves. So those are like the characteristics of the Cro-Magnon. Okay, so we'll be talking about the Philippines, the somehow the early human in the Philippines in our next Zoom. So I'll end this now and then I'll start another one. So wait up in our GC Viber. I'll send.